Welcome in, y'all. This is the Falcons podcast. It is the Monday morning, the aftermath edition on a dark and dreary, wet, stormy Monday morning here in the ATL. It feels like it's about 5 in the morning out there because it's pitch black outside my window. I think that's one of the reasons I'm just a little slower coming out of the gates here today. Appreciate everybody being here. Thanks to everybody for joining the Gut Reaction. It's a huge episode yesterday. So picked up a bunch of new subscribers. Welcome. Picked up some new members too. If you want to become a member of the Falcons podcast, support the show. There is a link in the description or basically anywhere that you watch it on YouTube. There's a join button. You can click on that too. We do go live every Monday and Wednesday, but I encourage you to hit the notifications because I post videos during the week, and every once in a while I'll do a surprise gut reaction podcast or something like that. Planning on doing another one this Sunday. I don't do them every week because I travel a lot with my son with travel baseball on weekends. But I am available this Sunday, planning on doing another one following the Patriots game. Let's get to it. Speaking of the Patriots, we're going to bring the Patriots back up several times this week, and not for just because the Falcons are playing them this week. We'll get to that one in a moment. Yes, it was an embarrassing loss for the Atlanta Falcons. Everybody that was involved with that organization should be embarrassed for how they showed up yesterday. Players, coaches, owners, everybody. It was an embarrassing loss. And it's not just that the Falcons lost. Their record's not that bad. They're 3-4. It's the way they're losing and who they're losing to in the method that they're doing it. Looking completely unprepared, completely outclassed, completely outcoached. It's a downward trend. And those are the kind of things that you don't have a lot of hope of them getting better. That's for sure. We do go live on Monday and Wednesdays because I like having the conversation. So I want to say some. I talked for 70 straight minutes yesterday. I want to say hello to some folks here today. Georgia Bully Dog, he was in first this morning. Y'all were in here first this morning. I said it last week. This team feels like it's going in the wrong direction, and if we'd lose to Miami, I'd crash out. Now you're fired up. Sounds like you're still a little pissed off. I've had it with this horrendous coaching staff that's been put together. It's time for Blank to man up and make the call. I'll be pissed if it doesn't happen today. I have a feeling you're going to be pissed. Now, Garrett does a show in the late afternoons, early evenings, Tuesdays and Thursdays, usually Thursdays for sure, sometimes Tuesdays, depending on his schedule. He's already written up a firing of some sort story. He says, I just can't believe, and he's at Flowery Branch every day. He's taking the pulse, and I don't know if he's too close to it or if he's right. I don't see anything happening. I don't. If anything happened, Zac Robinson's going to have the excuse of we had Kirk Cousins out there. And well, why did you have Kirk Cousins out there? And, no wide receivers and our third right tackle. And, of course, we were going to look back. Man, injuries happen everywhere. How many teams have the Falcons played already on backup quarterbacks, on missing wide receivers? San Francisco was a good example. All we heard during the Buffalo Bills game was how banged up they were, and look how they turn around and go into Carolina and just curb stomp the Panthers. So injuries aren't an excuse in this league. Everybody's banged up. It's just the way it is. Interesting. This feels like a newer name. Greetings from Germany, from Cash Bag Beats. Greetings from Germany. Rise up. That is cool. So one of the reasons I like doing the morning shows, one, it fits my schedule. Two, we get international viewers every so often like this over across the pond. What are you 6 hours? What? It's 8:43 a.m. here. So what are you going on 3 o'clock over there, or are you still at going on 2 o'clock? That's very cool. John Harrell, thank you for being a member. One of our great members here, and Races That Right. He's gotten his picture. It's very cool. So good morning, everybody. Scott, the fact that nobody's been fired yet is actually absolutely despicable for the fan base, and that falls on Mr. Blank. If it were to happen, it would happen today. It wouldn't have happened yet. It happened mid-afternoon on Monday, but I don't expect anything to happen. I really don't. Y'all know, and I put this in the comments every so often, y'all know I like soccer. I like international football. Man, they change managers. They change head coaches, managers, the way they change their shoes around there, man. You go on a 4-game losing streak, they'll can the manager. It's amazing. They'll swap them out. I don't think Chelsea has, the team I root for, I don't think they've had the same manager for 2 full consecutive years since I started watching them in 2012. It's unbelievable how they're close. The new guy, and they lost a bad one on Saturday. So we'll see. I don't expect anything. I really don't. Until the end of the season. That's just the way they typically work. Now, blank fired Quinn, a year too late. He never should have gotten the next year. It was obvious that team had quit, and would they go up to an 0-5 start and blew 2 games? Was like Minnesota and Dallas, or the Bears, where they had like 98% chance of winning, and we're all just going, yeah, we've seen this show before. I just don't expect it. Denver Luke, good morning. Hope you're doing well. Good to see you in here. Psalm coming out from out west. So we got complete opposite sides of the world watching this morning. I love it. It says, good morning, Scott and Nick and the Falcons podcast. Someone please tell me Arthur Blank came to his senses and fired all those clowns and made Ulbrich the interim. I'm going to go down here. It hadn't happened yet. I don't expect it. James from Naples, good to see you. And JMP, God, if this isn't the truth. I love how we're always the team that gives dying quarterbacks new life. Bryce Young, Josh Dobbs, Will Levis, Tua. Yeah, there was more to it than that also. The Atlanta Falcons have an amazing ability to make quarterbacks look bad. And I actually copied this down. Y'all know, from my scouting background and stuff, I've always said that the quarterback play in the NFL is like, oh, they're going to the spread for the mobile quarterback. The reason they're going to mobile quarterbacks is guys can't throw anymore. The reason guys can't throw anymore is because all of the 6'5", 100-mile-an-hour arms are in baseball. These were some of the starting quarterbacks yesterday, y'all. Tyler Huntley, Kirk Cousins, Marcus Mariota, Mac Jones, Joe Flacco, Andy Dalton, Dylan Gabriel, Spencer Rattler, and Carson Wentz. And you mean to tell me there's not a quarterback shortage? Ooh, goodness. It's they're all playing baseball, man. And I think the game reflects it. The quality of the game reflects it. We've seen some bad football out there, but no matter what, if they're playing the Falcons, oh, that's the cure. Jumbo, you've got it on there. Dustin coming in, or Austin, sorry. Austin says it's 8:20 and Raheem's still employed. And I'm with Ski on this. Falcons aren't firing Raheem. Get it out of your mind. Nobody's getting fired. I'm with you on this one, Ski. I do believe you. Sam, special teams coach, needs to be fired. They've been consistently bad for 2 years. That's the thing, Sam. I was a little surprised that when they fired the defensive line coach and the defensive coordinator last year, I was surprised that Marquise Williams kept his job too. They were wretched on special teams last year too. I bet they give up close to 75 or 80 yards in field position every game because in special teams, based on punting, punt coverage, kick returns, et cetera, let alone the kicking game. We know that. That one's a little more obvious. It's easier to see when the guys are missing kicks. And the Falcons, I think, were 29th in field goal percentage, and they were closer to 32nd than they were to 28th. So there was a pretty big drop off to the bottom teams. The special teams coach, I was surprised because he was a holdover. He was a holdover from Arthur Smith's staff. So Marquise has been here for 5 years. That one surprised me a little bit. John coming back says, I don't know if you heard, but we got beat by a better team yesterday. A 1-6 team. That's what our head coach said. To be fair, they were the better team. I mean, yesterday we got beat by a better team yesterday. I'll put that in quote, in parentheses. If you're writing it out, what word got left out of there? The Dolphins were a better team yesterday. Why were they a better team yesterday? Is it because they are a better team, period? Or were they a better team, in parentheses, yesterday? Why? And to be fair, again, Josh Kendall, old colleague, I've known him since I got into this business in the early 2000s, has a really good gift with that nice Southern politeness of him of asking the harder questions without sounding confrontational about it. And he asked yesterday, well, you mentioned not being prepared. Why is that? Why is your team coming out unprepared? And I think I gave y'all a preview of the press conference during the gut reaction yesterday. Well, we got to be better. We got to go take a look at it. That's our jobs, and that's all we can do. And this team's still really together. And blah 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 blah. And the worse it is for Raheem Morris, the faster he talks. That's when you can tell he's not happy. If he's feeling uncomfortable. Terry Fontenot got nervous. Y'all remember him at the Combine last year? My goodness. He was talking about Kirk Cousins. Oh, man, he sounded so bad. And Raheem gets out there and just rapid fires when he's uncomfortable out there. Yeah, and Georgia's agreeing with you on that one. Want to get into here we go. Mike, this is what I want to kind of to kick off, because Mike's talking new head coaches, and it's a little depressing before Halloween to be talking new head coaches. But hey, we are where we are. He says, I know he got fired with the Chargers, and Mike, pretty much every coach that's been hired has been fired. So you can say I don't want to retread. If you're going to get anybody with head coaching experience, they've been fired. But what about Joe Lombardi? He's offensive coordinator at Denver to the Falcons in 2026, or PJ Fleck at Minnesota. He has head coaching experience. I don't know as much about PJ Fleck. Did he do Wisconsin also? Lombardi, I feel like he's an Arthur Smith retread, and he's not really the offensive coordinator at Denver. Sean Payton is. Sean Payton calls the plays, designs it. Sean Payton runs a show. He does work hand in hand with the general manager, but he still is the director of football operations, president of football operations, the boss of football. He answers to the owner, and it may not be technically and the general manager, the other Payton, George Payton. George Payton answers to Sean Payton. If there is a power struggle, I know which one's out of there. George Payton is still there because Sean Payton wants him there. Lombardi, he doesn't call plays. He was really, really poor at LA. I don't think that's the guy. I don't know much about Fleck. But let's go back. I mentioned the New England Patriots. In 2000, going into the 2021 season, Joe Brady was actually, I don't know if he got the interview or if it was just rumored he was about to, when they were hiring Arthur Smith. Now, Brady had basically just come off of a season with LSU when they had all of those weapons, including Joe Burrow, I think, in a number one offense, 4 top 20 receivers and all this. And before that, his only claim to fame was he was in Joe Lombardi's role. He was the coffee getter for Sean Payton at New Orleans. So he hadn't done anything. I was like, guys, you're going way too overboard in trying to find the next Sean McVay. Joe Brady hasn't accomplished anything. So he ends up getting a job with the Carolina Panthers and does okay off and on. He wasn't put in the best situation. And now with New England, he's doing great with Drake May. Joe Lombardi is going to be head coach next year. Sorry, I just screwed that up. Joe Brady is going to be a head coach next year. That's your number one target. We mentioned yesterday, we talked about it before. Don't you have to go offense at this point if you're Arthur Blank? Don't you have to? Mike Smith, Dan Quinn, Jim Mora. I don't count Bobby Petrino anymore. He's erased from Falcons' memory. He doesn't count. And then Raheem Morris. They're all defense. Don't you, pretty much have to go offense? Don't you have to this go round? I think, it's the Falcons, so you never know what they're going to do. But by God, I'm looking offense, brother. I'm absolutely looking offense. Matt, good to see you. Thank you for the super chat, my friend. He's coming in. He's also, thank you for being a member as well. He says, Scott, that was really hard to watch. Ugh, it was. And, and if it wasn't the Dolphins and how bad they have looked and how bad they've looked on defense, you might cut them a little bit of slack. There were legitimate excuses out there. Kirk Cousins isn't one of them. Best backup in the league. We're going to keep this guy, and we're not going to let him go and try and replace him for. We're going to give him another $10 million for a nice even $100 million for the best backup. We think he's more valuable to us. So him looking just horrendous is not an excuse. That goes into the blame category of why is he still here? Why is Kirk Cousins still here? Just why? If he's going to look like that, then he obviously has zero value to this franchise. One-away players do not make great backups, and he is absolutely a one-away player. I don't think we got an article, ESPN, their overreaction to yesterday, and call it an overreaction. Says his trade value isn't completely gone. Yes, it is. He didn't have much to begin with, and it certainly didn't get any better yesterday. Pick swap, maybe $5 million. That's who gets fired. Kirk Cousins. Y'all want somebody's head to roll. Kirk Cousins finally gets traded for $2 million and an upgraded. They trade a 6th round and they trade a 7th and get a 6th in return. That's who gets fired. It really was hard to watch. And Mike, the unpredictability of this franchise, the way this franchise rolls, this team will beat New England and Indy and Germany and lose the next 3 to Carolina, New Orleans, and New York Jets. I said it yesterday, Mike. If I was a good team, I would not want to play this team. The Falcons are a dangerous team if they play well. We know this. They're also fully capable of getting their asses handed to them by the dregs of the league. I mean, it's not even playing to the level of your competition, because when they play the lower teams in this league, they go way below the level of the competition. Why isn't your team ready, coach? We'll have to look at that. We'll have to check the film and look at it. I like the way the team prepares. I like their mentality, and they come to work and they play hard and they're together. And it was awful. It just really was. Terry, good to see. He's ready to get rid of everybody. Everybody was going to be gone. They should be. Head coach is overwhelmed. Offensive coordinator is overwhelmed. Not enough experience. The DC just got his ass handed to him by dysfunctional offense. The GM has wasted assets. It'll be a house cleaning. Ulbrich didn't have a good game yesterday. They were missing some folks. So was the offense, Scott. I know, but Tua can be a dangerous team. Jalen Waddle can be dangerous. Mike McDaniel is an offensive guy. Missing Zach Harrison, being on the field for 40 minutes. Missing Zach Harrison, missing Divine Diablo, missing Billy Bowman, missing Jalen Walker. It added up a little bit on defense. Missing LaCale London, another one of your run stoppers. I don't think Ulbrich, I still am behind Ulbrich a lot more than, and I was behind Zac Robinson to start this year. I'm out now. Out. Dantes, one of our members, good to see you. And I said I was going to be a little late, and Mike said, then thanks for being a member too, Mike. He says, get your coffee. I'll drink to that. So we're about caught up with the chat, the chats that started before I even came on. I will drink to that. I got my Lion coffee in the background. Talking about Terry Fontenot may have had one solid pick his entire tenure. How does he still have a job? General managers coaches usually get to sacrifice their coordinators once after a bad season. Now, Raheem did that, one of them with Jimmy Lake. He kept Zac Robinson. Does he get to do it again? And the coaches seem to hire the coordinators. So Zac Robinson and Jimmy Lake were both his hires, and they have both failed. Will he get the opportunity to try and sacrifice Zac Robinson and get a third year? Not for me, he wouldn't. Terry's drafts have been questionable. Most drafts are, to be fair. I've liked the last two and the direction they've gone, quarterback of the future and then restocking the defense. And I think Terry's, with the exception of that giant iceberg that strikes the Titanic, with the exception of Kirk Cousins, Terry's free agents have been money. I mean, they've been really, really good on the defensive side of the ball. The problem is he hasn't always had enough money because they either had to eat a bunch of dead cap with the previous regime, or they crippled themselves with a stupid contract to Kirk Cousins. I mean, wouldn't it have been nice to be able to look? They got Diablo for what, $7 million? That's decent money. That's top 25 money for an inside linebacker, but it's not top of the market money. Wouldn't it have been nice to have another $40 million in Kirk Cousins cap money to be able to go out and get a starting corner, a little bit more depth, another wide receiver? God, the wide receiver room, my goodness. Let me come back to that one too. So y'all remind me when I come back. Scott, you were going to talk about the wide receiver room and what a disaster that was. I will. That is something else I want to get to. Terry's like, that's all on Blank and McKay. It's not coming up for some reason. There we go. Rich was a horrible GM and Arthur promoted him. You had Raheem in the building when the Quinn disaster happened. You rehired him. No accountability from the top down. I wasn't completely against the Raheem Morris hire. I wasn't. I'll eat that one too. You know, again, I 15, 20 years ago, there were two guys. I told a lot of y'all this yesterday. I'll repeat it again for some of the people that are here on Monday. There were two young, way in over their heads, brash, cocky, arrogant coaches I just couldn't stand. Raheem Morris at Tampa Bay, Lane Kiffin at wherever he ended up, at USC, at Tennessee, with the Raiders. He was still like 30-something years old and just couldn't stand him. They got humbled. We watched them get humbled. Raheem comes and becomes a pretty good position coach for the Atlanta Falcons, goes out and defensive coordinator for the LA Rams, does a good job, matures. Lane Kiffin takes the FIU job down in, where nobody's watching, and he was humbled, and he's ended up being a really damn good coach. I was hoping that was the path that Raheem Morris would be able to take as well. Hasn't worked out that way. It definitely hasn't worked out that way. And we're going to say hello to my podcasting partner here, Nick Kendall. Nick, how are you doing this morning, my friend?
Doing okay. Kid was up from 1 to 3:30 or 4 and kept getting upset every time I left, so I fell asleep on the floor in the nursery and didn't have my phone with me. So Natalie comes in and says, "Hey, isn't it Monday?" Holy bleep. Yes, it is. So yeah, I don't feel the most spry after falling asleep on the floor, but here we are.
That's okay. It feels it's dark, cold, dreary, and wet here. It looks like it's the middle of the night. You don't have to worry about the sun coming in the window and blocking me in the eye. Hadn't rained in 2 months. Oh, it's going to rain now. It's coming down good. Here, just right straight off the top of your head, because right now, Raheem Morris. I titled this "Raheem Morris and Zac Robinson seats are on fire." There's really no one in here in this chat that I've seen so far that's like, oh, he needs more of a chance, or, the injuries were too much. They're done. So we can have this discussion. Give me your top 3 head coaching candidates around the league, not just for the Falcons, but around the league, just right off the top of your head. I already gave number 1, and I'm sure he'll be in your list.
Number 1 for me is probably Robert Saleh, because of how horrible we've seen what's going on with the Jets. Maybe he would keep Ulbrich here. We've kind of liked a lot of the pieces of the defense, and we've seen what Saleh's done with the defense that has just been falling apart this season. And with how terrible the Jets operation has been, I don't think that stink is on him.
Yeah, the Jets are a more dysfunctional organization by the Falcons, and then the Falcons, and that's saying something.
So I think Robert Saleh is the first one who comes to mind. I've been really impressed with him. I know everybody kind of wants an offensive guy. That's kind of the bias towards it. But I think Robert Saleh is the first one who comes to mind for me that I'm pretty in tune with. I don't know his name off the top of my head, Scott, but I know that he's somebody who's been out there, and I just want the operation right now of the Colts quarterback coach, somebody who's getting some pub right now. And I know it's like not really a secret with the Colts, like best run blocking offensive line with the best running back in football, and you can do a lot. But that's another one who comes to mind. And then, of course, I got all defense, but I mean, I've been really impressed with what Vance Joseph's done in Denver, and I think he can bring over some good people with as well. And because he failed the first time, I know it's kind of Raheem Morris with that as well, but I think he's had his toes with enough organizations that he could bring some good people with. But I'm curious who your number 1 is off the top of your head.
And you can tell me why I'm wrong. That's okay. And probably people already have. This would be a disaster. He's, got caught doing whatever. Good morning, Michael Ronquillo, the sunrise. We can use a little sun around here, Michael. So I hope you're doing well out in Arizona. And Rudy over on Facebook, good morning as well. I said it was time because he actually was starting to get interviews with I don't know if they fully brought him in. I can't remember. I thought they did. But he was like 28 and coming out of LSU and was a coffee getter for Sean Payton as Joe Brady, and what he's doing up in New England with Drake May. I think he's going to be the hottest candidate in the offseason. Offense, young quarterback. I think he's going to be the number one guy out there. It's Joe Brady.
He is. I will say, after the terrible game plan versus the Falcons, I was a little bit like, what are you doing? But that can happen any week. So yeah, he's definitely somebody who's up there. That's probably one of the top 3 to 5 candidates.
They haven't played the Patriots yet, so we'll see.
Yeah. Joe Brady's with the Bills, right? The offensive
Bills. I'm sorry. Yeah. So I've screwed that up completely. That's what I've screwed up. Was
Josh McDaniels is back with the Patriots?
Well, no, wait. Bills. Yeah, Bills. One of those New England teams, the red, white, and blue. I got it totally confused in my head.
Yep.
So apologies.
You have Josh McDaniels joining Mike Vrabel's staff, and we'll see how long that goes.
Yeah, and I like Vrabel. That was a good hire. So apologies, Falcons fan. I got my red, white, and blue Northeastern teams completely screwed up. Joe Brady, and that changes my whole narrative entirely, because I've always said be careful taking the offensive coordinator / quarterback coach for the guy who has the Superman quarterback. How much of it is Joe Brady? How much of it is Josh Allen? So apologies, I screwed that up, and that's why I like having Nick here to help keep me straight on that type of stuff, because I did mess that up, and I hadn't gotten far enough down the chat to say, hey, Scott, dummy, you screwed that up. So thank you, Nick.
Mm-hmm. No dummy. What was done was the product on the field yesterday. God, ugly. I hate to admit, I have my parents here and family, so I turned it off at some point. Halfway through the third quarter, I did see that you were on Twitter, Scott, but it was an embarrassment, and probably more of an embarrassment. It's hard to say more than embarrassment than the Panthers.
It was worse. This one was worse. This was a home game against a team. The Panthers are actually a decent team. You didn't know that at the time, but they're going to hover around 500 for most of the year. This was a 1-6 team that had just gotten buried by the Cleveland Browns of all teams. Their coach is pretty much, a lot of surprise, their coach is even still there. Their weaknesses match up with the Falcons' strengths perfectly when it comes to game planning. This was worse. This was easily worse. So it was. And I had what we learned at 1,000 words written by mid third quarter. I was just waiting to fill in the final numbers to see how bad it was going to be. They finally got their first down they finally converted their first third down on blank. I had to wait for that one because it was a 3rd and 1 with 14 minutes left in the fourth quarter. I had to wait on that. I had to wait on the final score, et cetera, et cetera. Good morning, Adam. I hope you're doing well. He says the game plan, again, was deplorable. Bijan ran the ball 9 times. I'm so tired of this organization. It continues to fall on Arthur Blank with his poor hiring decisions. Yeah, and oh my God. Do y'all remember him and McKay getting up there after they fired Arthur Smith, smugly saying how good they've done hiring coaches? Holy, read the room, old dudes. Wow. That was one of the – and the thing is, we never saw Rich McKay again. Oh, man. William says, Zach is the main problem. Kirk isn't Cousins of old. Yeah, it's – I had somebody say, y'all were in here blaming Michael Penix last week. No, we weren't. The blame is, again, this isn't binary. Nobody's perfect. Michael Penix can have a poor game, and Zac Robinson can be a bad offensive coordinator. Both of those are true. I promise you, Michael Penix doesn't think he played perfect. Michael Penix is a young quarterback who has things he needs to improve on. That doesn't mean that this is all Michael Penix's fault. Hell no. Of course not. No. He needs to be put in better situations. He needs better weapons around him. He needs a better right tackle. And he needs to then develop, because right now is not the finished product. So it's okay to say, well, Scott, what does he need to develop? He needs to get better under pressure. He needs to get better reading defenses pre-snap. And he needs to be put on the move more. That falls on the offensive coordinator. I want to see some bootlegs, some waggles. Move the pocket around a little bit, for God's sakes.
Yeah, it's a very volatile team. It's pretty hard to believe this is the same team that had the Bills at home and looked like they did, and then have an output like that versus the Dolphins. But a game like that, to me, comes down to coaching. When you are that not dialed in and erratic, bipolar, I mean, whatever word you want to say. I know that you had a lot of guys out in this game, but like you draft these superstar players to have easy buttons. That way, you can spam those when you need to. I just don't. It's not coherent at all. It doesn't make any sort of logical sense. I mean, I know the game kind of felt like it snowballed on you pretty quickly, but this was a Dolphins team. I mean, they've been rather simple to scheme against this season. And heck, I mean, maybe you got their best punch this entire season. I don't know. Maybe they'll turn it around. But this is a tough game, and now you got the Colts in Berlin, and then the Patriots. I mean, this can
Patriots first, and then the Colts.
Oh, it's Patriots first, and then Colts. Okay, but this can spiral at this point. So we'll see what happens from here on out, and we'll find a lot of the chutzpah and balls of this team too, because this is one where after this, like we said at the Panthers game too, like lay down and die or respond. Again, we still have half the season left. You still got what you want to fight in front of you. Technically, mathematically, it feels hard to say that after a game like that. But Scott, I live by it. Not too high, not too low. I came in here as a wet blanket with the Bills game, being like, that's just one game. You never know. I'm going to say the same thing right now. I said after the Panthers game too. You can come back and you can beat the Patriots, and oh my gosh, just when I thought you couldn't get any lower, you do something and completely redeem yourself. So that's
here's the thing, though, Nick.
We'll see, but I understand the belief. Yeah.
Here's the thing, though, Nick. The up and down nature of this team is a symptom of a bigger problem, and that's what Falcons fans are feeling right now. The inconsistency is a symptom of a bigger problem, and they can never get where they want to go because of the bigger problem, which is the organization itself. For the most part, a lot of people want to just say Rich McKay, Arthur Blank, but they're Arthur Blank's not firing himself. And again, I haven't seen anything out of Raheem Morris and Zac Robinson that makes me think that they're the guys that can get this team to play consistently well, to string together 4 straight wins and finish 10-7. I just don't. And Art of the Genre says the first-round pick swap's feeling worse and worse. It may be a better and better pick for LA, that's for sure. It's the players. James Pierce needs to step up for sure. Watts could be like the trade down. The only trade down Terry Fontenot has made. The best player of that whole bunch was the 4th rounder they got as the throw-in, and Drew Dahlman. So we'll see on that. Again, the narrative I fought against was that it was way, 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 way overpriced. I don't necessarily believe that. You paid a premium to draft. You paid some interest. You did pay a premium to move back up, but it wasn't too high a premium swapping a second, a third, because you can't go into the season saying, "Oh, this could be a top 5 pick," or else you're fired already. Those guys are already gone, which could be one of the problems. You can't let that guy make that trade if he's on his last year anyway. Berto, good to see you, man. He says, "Morning, Scott. Thanks for dropping by the stream yesterday." Yeah, happy to say hello. Now we know the outcome we all want as fans will not happen, but what changes could you expect going forward yesterday? It was downright abysmal. What changes? All right, I got one for you, Nick. Who's been my barometer on offense for wins and losses?
Charlie Warner.
They are now 0-4 when Charlie Warner plays less than 60% of the snaps. You have got Ray McLeod is gone. Drake London is out. Darnell Mooney has not shown up all season. Doesn't this seem like a time to play your 12 personnel? Mm-hmm. Charlie Warner played 15 snaps on offense, 30%. They only had 45 snaps. He played 15 snaps on offense. Those are the kind of things that make me so mad. The premeditated things, like, this is obvious, don't do the opposite. That's the stuff that just drives me insane. Was Charlie Warner banged up? I don't think so. I saw him later in the game. 15 snaps from Charlie Warner. Instead, you've got David Sills taking pretty much every snap. Well, why would you have David Sills out there? He's been a backup. Yeah, but he has been throwing with Kirk Cousins. The number 2s have been throwing with the number 2s, but they're number 2s for a reason. Go out there with 12 personnel. I don't even know what to call it, Nick. I'd go out there with 3 freaking tight ends before throwing Kadero Hodge. Who were the 3? Because it was Kadero Hodge, it was David Sills. Casey Washington didn't even hardly play. And then the third receiver was Darnell Mooney. Darnell Mooney's been a waste of space out there.
Mm-hmm.
Why are you not coming out in 12 personnel and running the damn ball? My God. That's the stuff that gets me fired up. Pardon me. Go ahead.
Yeah.
Nick.
I do wonder, I mean, can Kirk Cousins move from the under center run game? Right now, obviously, last season, that was a big issue to start the season. But Kirk's first game doesn't have really much. You're missing your number one pass catcher as well. I don't know. It seems simple to me, Scott, coming in. This has been not a very good Dolphins run defense. They haven't played with a lot of passion. I mean, just been disrespected a good bit. So I don't know, Scott. It seems simple to me. I mean, you know me, Scott. I'm king of run the damn ball to start, and even if it's unless you have a superstar quarterback, right? Which right now, obviously, we don't know about Penix, but we have Cousins in there, so I don't know. Scratching my head. I just or what is it? Smack my head is what you like to say on that one. So yeah, it's got to get more creative with the run game. I mean, it's times like this. It's like, I'm happy the era is over, but like Arthur Smith wouldn't have done this bleep, right? He'd have figured out creative ways to run the football. You can say what you want about Arthur Smith, but he was very clever with his run design and stubborn to a fault with that from time to time. But man, it would have been a game where it'd have been nice to have that with the head coach saying we're running the damn football.
It's Kerry has a good question. I say all the time, Kerry, watch what they do, not what they say. Well, they say McKay doesn't have anything to do with the daily operations of the Falcons, but why is he on the sidelines during the Falcons game yesterday? Because he was getting the pulse of the team before they fired somebody? It's a great question. I've been calling him a boogeyman. Well, he just showed up when you didn't want to see him. It's Halloween. That's a great question, Kerry. I'll try and find out. I'll have somebody there that I'll ask. I'll ask around. What is Rich McKay doing day to day? Why is he on the sidelines? It's a great question. Absolutely great question. Matt coming in. Speaking of premeditated decisions that backfire, J.D. Bertrand played all but one snap. Now, they talked about Jeff Ulbrich talked about using an approach to a multiple approach to try and fill the shoes of the substantial shoes of Divine Diablo. And to me, that means J.D. Bertrand in linebacker situations on first down, and then maybe a third safety on second and third down. Bro never came off the field. And again, J.D. Bertrand is not a good NFL linebacker. He's certainly not a good 3-down NFL linebacker. I don't blame J.D. Bertrand for that. J.D. Bertrand is out there working his butt off, doing the best he can. It's not his fault. He's not putting himself in. He's working to earn a living. God bless him. But he's not good enough. And it's obvious. I call that an organizational failure. It goes on the general manager for not having a better option. And it goes on the defensive staff for not finding a better way to plug that hole. Yeah. It's not J.D. Bertrand's fault that he's not good enough. I don't want to pile on him. It's not his fault. It's the team's fault. Mm-hmm. But you're right, Matt. He's a complete liability in the run game and the passing game and all of it. And then he played 12 snaps on special teams, too. He was on the field more than any other Falcon yesterday. J.D. Bertrand was on the field more than any other Atlanta Falcon.
It showed.
It showed.
Yeah, it showed. Yeah, it was, I mean, unfortunately with that, he stands out in a very negative way. Find the fish as a basketball term, where I don't think it's only the coaching staff fault too, Scott. I think you maybe mentioned, but the personnel, like the people, you got to be able to find, like, undrafted free agents, like play better than what Bertrand
practice
is doing.
Squad guys.
Yeah,
there's somebody out there. I said yesterday, I will stake my career on the fact that someone has a practice squad linebacker that is better than J.D. Bertrand. When when Fred Warner went out, the 49ers plugged in their backup. He went out. The 49ers put in a guy against the Falcons who had hadn't taken a snap that season yet. That's building depth. And part of it is not blowing $40 million on a backup quarterback who's eaten up part of that. David says, how about that missed interception? Jesse Bates knocked it out of his hands. I'll give him some help on that one. The ball was deflected, comes down into Bertrand's hands, and him and Bates fight for it. So that's 2 turnovers that could have happened that were self-induced. Bates knocks it out of his hands, and Bijan forced his own fumble. Those were two turnovers. It's just like, this doesn't seem, those kind of things, you can't tell me there aren't some sort of higher powers out there. Those are the kind of things that don't happen to the alpha teams of the league. That happens to the Atlanta Falcons of sports with that type of stuff. Chris Walker, good to see you, my friend. Quality or at least decently better depth needs to be priority for the Falcons moving forward. And that's hard to do when you trade 2 picks for every 1 draft pick you make and you flush $40 million down the drain on your salary cap this year on a backup quarterback. Hopefully our salary cap situation will allow for that. As long as we can get people who can coach and identify and evaluate talent properly, we'll have people in place to do that. Yeah, if only. All I need is the people to make the right draft picks and sign the right guys and then coach them right. Chris, it's a simple game. Why haven't they been there like that? That's for 60 years, though. It is tough. Rusty, I see you coming in. And Matt, thank you for being a member and the super chat. Rusty coming in. So that was a 6-game under Raheem where we came out completely unprepared in a 24-game span. Yeah, I think what was a stat that Arthur Smith lost in 3 years, and Arthur Smith needed to be fired too. So don't get me wrong on this.
He did. Yeah.
He had 6 games where they lost by 20, and Morris has already had 5, or it might have been the other way around. That's 25% of your games where you're completely unprepared in a league where the margins are razor thin. You know, you're in 7 or 8 1-score games a year on average easily. Need I say more? We are toast. It again, Nick, how I put it yesterday was like, what's worse than losing is this coaching staff and this organization has left Falcons feeling hopeless right now. They don't have any hope that it's going to improve, that these guys have the ability to improve this team across a long enough timeline. And that's a bad feeling. That's when it's time to make a change, Nick. Yeah, you're on a pretty good delay, Nick.
He gets the season. Yeah, he gets a pretty good season. So he gets a season for me still on that, Scott. But, I mean, we're on thin ice. I came in through that Panthers game. After that Panthers game, you know, fire and brimstone, saying, like, this feels like it could be it. And then we saw him bounce back against the Bills. So, again, it stinks. It's elevated stink with the lack of a first-round pick as well. But they're probably going to get the season to figure it out. So we're going to see what these guys are made of, the coaching staff, the players, the respect they have for themselves and each other, and see what happens. And this is a good call out too. Stefanski, if Stefanski gets fired, or even if he doesn't, I can't imagine he would cost too much trade for. Granted, the Falcons are in no position to be trading capital, but the Stefanski's once or twice coach of the year. He brings a pretty good operation with him as well. Now, granted, he wants to run more of that under center stuff, which they are not trying to call with Michael Penix, it seems a lot. But yeah, Stefanski is a good name to keep an eye on. The thing with Stefanski, though, is he's probably going to have close to his choice if he does get fired, Scott. Maybe he wants to take a year or two after dealing with the Browns. So, but this is a good call out, Jerome. Thanks for this one.
Yeah, I saw this yesterday, and Jerome, I agree with you. To me, Kevin Stefanski is a lot like Vrabel. I thought Vrabel did a good job. Sometimes good coaches can run their course in a place. I think that happened to Mike Smith. Mike Smith was a good coach. I was really surprised, and I don't know if he was just old or whatnot, but how he didn't end up getting another job. Say it with me, Mike McCarthy. This is the move. This goes back to dysfunctional ownership again. How much different? This is actually a really good question. Is Arthur Blank another Jerry Jones with a bigger heart as far as running his team? I don't think he's. My initial answer to that would be no, because I want to say, all right, McCarthy didn't do all that great in Dallas, but that's a dysfunctional situation. Is it much better in Atlanta with Arthur Blank? Yeah, I don't think Arthur Blank is nearly as meddlesome. I mean, Jerry Jones is the freaking general manager by title, for goodness sakes. So he's definitely a better owner to work for than Jerry Jones, I would think.
I don't think he's as erratic as Jerry Jones, where he takes things like personal, like the whole like Micah Parsons things felt personal. And I think that it's the opposite end of the spectrum with Arthur Blank. Now, granted, he's very involved, but he's super loyal and methodical. Scott, I think honestly the ownership that he compares more to is the Maras with the Giants, who are well established family, very involved, but like super duper loyal to the system. It's not the bleep show where it's everybody coming out of the clown car that you have sometimes with the Cowboys, definitely with the Jets and the Woody out there. But it's I don't know. Arthur Blank seems like somebody you'd want to work for, but maybe more on like the Giant business side of things versus the zero sum. Somebody wins, somebody loses. Which I'm not a businessman. Maybe it's that way in Wall Street as well sometimes, Scott. But I don't think Jerry Jones is the comp. I think it's more the Maras.
And Eddie, appreciate the stars over there. And I ripped into the process, the culture. And again, I'm not saying Bill Belichick should have been hired. But the reason why you don't hire him is we're afraid he'll upset the culture. You're 8 years without a winning season, fellas. Ladies and gentlemen over there in Flowery Branch, culture needs to be upset. This isn't a public employee union. You don't have a job for life. You actually need to get some results. Theoretically, the culture needs to be upset. And I said it, and I really didn't mean to use the pun, but it makes sense. Some feathers definitely need to be ruffled for the Atlanta Falcons. The culture is broken right now. It's comfortable and it's losing. That's the culture. 8 seasons without a winning record. That's the culture. Nick, I said this, 5 years is a lifetime in the NFL. Can you even picture what you've got going on a 2-year-old? Can you even picture your life before that? How long does those 2 years seem like to you? What does 2 years ago seem like to you? It seems like a different person. 8 years is a lifetime in the NFL. It's time to upset some folks. What the culture ain't working. And if you're going to hire a guy because you're afraid he's going to upset the culture, you get what you deserve. You do.
Well, one positive I will say about this is that you were out a lot of players, and the big hope for this team still long-term, Penix becomes a top 10 quarterback, and you still got time to figure that out. And luckily, the stink of this game doesn't fall on him. So you do have some reason to hope for on that one. You do have pieces in place offensively that you should be able to lean on. So it's not all doom and gloom, but it does feel like this is another season down the drain. Now, granted, you string together 2 wins nobody expects, and we're back on the mountaintop. That's just the nature of the NFL. I wouldn't bet on it, Scott, but I mean, did you see yesterday the wheel of parity was completed, where every team has beat every team in the circle? So anything can happen in the next 2 games. So we'll keep tuning in. We'll keep hanging out. We got Lance coming in, joined late, so I've discussed. Even more annoyed, we gave Kirk Cousins free $10 million for 2026. Good future player we could have had. I was on the show many times, Scott, in the offseason, be like, I don't know what they're waiting for. Cut your losses. Cut him. You think you're going to get anything for him at this point? I mean, I'd rather have the money and just eat it. I'm biased because what I saw the Broncos do, and move on from it. But I don't think there's any sunk cost at this point.
Oh, and the idea is like, well, you'd have to. It was just an extra $10 million, as Lance said. And thanks for the super chat, my friend. Become a member. We'd love to have you. He says, it was $10 million. Everything else had already been spent. The $90 million was already out the door, so it was an extra $10 million. But again, Divine Diablo is on a $7 million deal this year. $10 million is a starting cornerback. $10 million is another starter. It's 3 backups. $10 million. It's 2 pretty good interior backup linemen. It's a really good swing tackle is what that is $10 million. And, the idea of, because again, I'll just stack these. Why did he not play in the preseason? Why? Why did he not play in the preseason? He looked like he hadn't played in a year. A couple of the responses I got were, he's done. He's cooked. The playing in the preseason wouldn't have mattered. Then why are you giving him another $10 million?
Yeah. Yep.
There is no, as I've said for 2 years now, there is no good answer to this. It's bad. And they just keep shoveling more crap on it. And it keeps getting worse. Luckily, it's almost over. Kirk Cousins will be gone January 1st or sooner, whatever the final, as soon as the season is over, his $35 million cap hit will be, the dead cap hit will be absorbed, and they'll spread it across 2 years. He's going to be on the books for 2 more years. But golly, since the minute they signed him, they've mishandled the situation. It's been one bad decision after another, starting with signing him. They never should have signed him, ever. And they definitely shouldn't have kept him around.
No. What was the name I threw out, Scott? Sam Darnold? That'd be, who knows what that would look like.
Geno Smith? I mean, not Geno Smith. Who am I thinking of? Jacoby Brissett. Anybody.
Yeah.
I mean, grab a decent bridge and draft your quarterback.
Yeah.
So be it.
I do need to run over on the Broncos side of things.
Yep. Appreciate you stopping by. I'm going to finish up with some of the conversations here. I will not see you tomorrow. I have softball banquet for Johns Creek High School. So I will not see you tomorrow, but I'll talk to you later today. Appreciate you stopping by.
Have a good one, everybody.
Jeremy, good to see you. Jeremy says, thanks for the super chat, my friend. Become a member. Love to have you. He says, it's still too early to talk about head coaching candidates. No, we've hit on that already. Also, fire Zach right now. I totally screwed up the resume of Joe Brady, but I think he will be a head coach candidate this year. Buffalo Bills offensive coordinator. That brings me to another thing. I've been interrupting myself, and I'll come back to this. You guys think I interrupt Nick a lot. You should hear the voices in my head, for God's sakes. When I did the Bills podcast a couple weeks ago, I was talking about, the matchups, this and that. And, I'm like, listen, this Falcons team, they're a dangerous team. You don't know who's going to show up. And the good Falcons showed up, and they pretty much dominated the Bills. When I went off, I was listening to them talking, and they said, I think where the Falcons where the Bills have a big advantage is the coaching staff. Sean McDermott versus Raheem Morris. And I was like, I got no answer for that. And I know a lot of y'all come in my comments, and we have these discussions all the time. You said it's disheartening feeling like you're going into every single game with a disadvantage. And it is. And I can't say you're wrong. Not a whole lot of people would right now. There's a lot of pundits out there that are poking at the team the way it's prepared, at Zac Robinson. Golly, between Saved by the Bell, I'm going to call him Zac Morris, and then I call Raheem Morris. I call him Raheem Moore all the time. It's a bitch getting old. You guys can start calling him Zac Morris just as a joke. I didn't do it on purpose, but Saved by the Bell is the offensive coordinator. No, it's not too early to talk about head coaching candidates, Jeremy. And Nick came up with 3 a little earlier in the show. He said Robert Saleh is proving again why he was a head coaching candidate to begin with, now that he's escaped New York, another movie reference, because the Jets are dysfunctional. He said whoever is the number 2 behind Shane Steichen with the Indianapolis Colts, I don't know who that is. Shane Steichen's a hell of a football coach. With the Indianapolis Colts. And then 3 was Vance Joseph, would be a retread, another defensive guy. I think the Falcons have to go offense. So I really, really do. I think you've got all of this tied up into your offense as far as, all of your money, all of your draft picks, all of your hopes in Michael Penix. You've got to get a quarterback whisperer out there. Tony Bradley, good morning. Hope you're doing well. Eddie has another question. Looked like he came in with some stars there. I want to make sure we did that. What do you think about a trade for Shedeur Sanders with the Browns? So many fans want to see him start. I think that's a circus waiting to happen. I don't think there's any big conspiracy to keep him from playing. I just don't think he's ready. Unless you're talking about somebody else. I don't, let's get Shedeur Sanders. It'd be good for business. I'll tell you that. It'd be good for this guy. But I don't know that it would help the Falcons. Again, but they should have. I'd rather have Easton Stick out there than Kirk Cousins. I don't want Kirk Cousins on this team anymore. I didn't want him on the team. As soon as he went to Arthur Blank and says, I want to be gone, he should have been gone. I wanted him gone for sure. Y'all be nice out there. I'm not sure. John 267, if you're coming here talking trash, just stop. It's not the time or place. But I don't want Shedeur Sanders here. I want a good coach here. I want a good quarterback developer here. And I want Kirk Cousins gone. Those are my wants for Christmas right now. Ro, good to see you. It feels like a newer name for the Super Chat, so thank you so much for coming in and supporting the show. Cliff Kingsbury is a head coach paired with Michael Penix and Bijan. Cliff wouldn't be a rookie head coach. He'd definitely be a culture changer too, I'll tell you that. You look way younger than me. So anybody, the OGs, Chris, John, anybody else out there, do you get June Jones vibes with Cliff Kingsbury? Is he really good? I know he was good in college, but college is a different game. And I know he didn't do great in Arizona, but who has done great in Arizona? You know, again, it's another one of those culture things, one of those winning things. If I see a guy fail in the New York Jets, if I see a guy fail with the Chicago Bears right now, I don't necessarily think they can't play. I think the Chicago Bears haven't been a good franchise for a long time, and I think the New York Jets haven't been a good franchise for a long time. I don't think the Atlanta Falcons have been a good franchise for a long time. Some of it's culture. It's not necessarily personnel. So I don't know. I really don't have a strong opinion. My initial reaction on that row is negative. But as I've said a zillion times, there's no such thing as unbiased. He looks super brash and arrogant for no good reason. That's what I see from the outside. And I could be 100% wrong. I could be 100% wrong on that. It would absolutely be worth flushing out, Ro. If I was in charge of making a hire, I would love to do a deep dive and find out more. And there's millions and millions and millions of dollars on the line. I'd know what this guy had for breakfast in middle school if I was making the next coach, for sure. So thank you so much for the super. And it's an excellent question, and I would absolutely look into it. Let me see here. Another one. So let me see if I can find Corey. I agree with Corey on this one because there's another name that comes up. I don't think Kirby. I don't know that he wouldn't be a good NFL coach, but the dude's making 8 figures at his dream job. He's where he belongs. Kirby Smart is absolutely where he belongs. And I love Kirby Smart. I went to Auburn. I loved Kirby Smart at Alabama. I love him with the Georgia Bulldogs. I'm nothing but happy for the success that Kirby Smart has had because he is genuinely a good person. And I love the dude. I'm just thrilled to death for the success that he's had. And I'm thrilled for all my Georgia fans and neighbors because they're being led by Kirby Smart. I love the guy. But you did also mention, where'd it go in here? You mentioned Todd Monken. Brian Flores, Jesse Minter. I don't know much about him, and Joe Brady in there. And you mentioned Todd Monken as well. I haven't followed. I know he was the wonderkid. He did great with Georgia. I don't know how much he's been doing. I've seen his name come up a few times. But Larry coming in, thank you for the super. He says you can tell by the locker room. You can tell by players the locker room is gone. I don't know, and somebody asked one of the older guys who's not as nice as Josh, asked him about, and actually it might have been Terrence Moore. Was the name? I recognized his voice in the press conference? I think it was Terrence. So how do you keep the locker room together? And Raheem says, I'm not worried about that. This is a together bunch. They'll be ready to fight. They ready to fight for Kirk Cousins? That was one of my concerns. They ready to go out there and fight for Kirk Cousins as their starting quarterback? I don't know. I know a lot of us are I know a lot of us are out. And Matt says, watch blank hire my least favorite coach, Sarkisian. He's number one on my list of people I dislike in the sporting profession. He's number one. You mentioned in there, somebody mentioned Charlie Weiss Jr. I thought that was a nepotism hire. I like to, it's hard not to talk about privilege when you see guys like this get hired for not doing anything. But hell, Charlie Weiss Jr. seems to be a better coach than his dad. That's for sure. Blank hire mode. Just don't even speak this into existence. I'm going to send you your money back, Matt, and we're going to erase this from existence. Sarkisian, good God, it would definitely change the culture. That's for sure. If he was the head coach, that dude is the University of Texas a step up from the Atlanta Falcons, because that dude still falls up everywhere he fails. He just keeps falling up. Terry coming in said, Scott, if I'm Auburn, I hate to say it, but it's been a long time for Tech, but I'd fire Freeze today and make Brent Key say no to a check of his lifetime. Yeah, the Freeze is on borrowed time. I feel like I'm watching the same team on the weekends. Y'all know I've got the Auburn site too. I feel like I'm watching the same team. Auburn, there's so many similarities between Auburn and the Atlanta Falcons right now. It's absolutely ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous how similar they are in their failings out there. And Rashad, I agree with you. I'm ready for an offensive head coach. I'm not in on Matt Nagy. I see that one, Alberto. Chris has a good question. Is Terry gone after the season? His last two drafts have been fairly good, and his free agency signings and bargain bin shopping has been phenomenal. I just wish he'd figured out the draft sooner. The trading up for me is you're handicapping yourself. You need more good players, not fewer. You're not one player away in this spot, and it seems like at least twice a draft cycle they're trading two players to get one. I'm not a fan of that. And it seems like the last two drafts have been good, but it's too early to really tell. Michael Penix hasn't really proven anything to this point. We like what we see. We like the Jalen Walker pick, but hell, we haven't seen him in a month. We haven't seen Billy Bowman Jr. in a month. James Pierce Jr. hasn't done much yet. That's not to be unexpected for young edge rushers. Brandon Dorlus, you basically use a first-round draft pick on Rook Orororo. He's been okay, but has he been worth a first-round pick? Another trade up? But I do like what I've seen from the last two drafts for sure. It's filling holes on defense. The players have been contributing and getting your quarterback of the future. The early drafts were poor. And, from top to bottom, I was like, oh, you got Bijan Robinson, you got Drake London. You're drafting in the top 10. If you don't get a good player in the top 10, you should be fired. You're not supposed to draft in the top 10 4 years in a row. You're supposed to get out of the top 10. The fact that you're still drafting in the top 15 for 5 straight years is an indication that you're not a successful franchise. But yes, they'll clean house, Chris. If this team has another losing season, again, this is how I always try and put it. Well, it's not Terry's fault. It's Rich McKay's fault. That doesn't matter. Rich McKay is above Terry Fontenot and Blanket. Blank's not going to fire himself. If I walked into the office and said, here's my 6-year plan for a winning team, I never would have got the job. So why should I keep my job after 5 losing seasons? You don't. You just don't. Yes, Major, that feels like a newer name to the Super Chat rankings. Great to see you. Thank you for the support, my friend. I certainly appreciate it. Go get Bill Belichick or Mike McCarthy. Bill should have had the job anyway. He would have been more successful here than he was at North Carolina. Speaking of guys, the polar opposite of guys. Kirby Smart is a relationships guy. He's a hell of a defensive coach, don't get me wrong. But Kirby Smart is a relationships guy. That's what you need in college. You need the college guy to bring people into your program. You need to recruit and be at a place like Georgia where you got the money to do it now. Bill Belichick is not necessarily a relationships guy. He's more of an X's and O's guy. He needs help on the personnel side. He needs a place where you can draft, offer money, and sign contracts and make somebody come play for you for the first 5 years of their career because of the draft. Bill Belichick has no business being in college. I'd rather have Mike McCarthy than Bill Belichick, specifically just for the age. I don't want Bill Belichick here in Atlanta. He's done. Speaking of another circus, it's not quite on the level of the Jerry Glanville circus, but it's not far off either. I'm with you I'd be okay on the Mike McCarthy one. again, how dysfunctional are the Dallas Cowboys where you can put some of that on Mike? What he was super successful with an MVP quarterback, that's for sure. But what's Mike McCarthy? What was his floor with the Cowboys? And he was a head coach for 18 years. He was 84-49. He had a 583 winning percentage with the Dallas Cowboys. So this failure of a coach was 6-10 his first season in Dallas. That was 2020. That was a COVID year. 12-5, 12-5, 12-5, 7-10, and fired. And if anybody in here says, oh, well, you can get to the playoffs and just flame out, smack them. Wouldn't it be nice to have 3 straight 12-5 seasons and flame out for a change? What's that like? I remember what it was like because everybody gave Matt Ryan hell for that. Those were the golden years of Falcons football. Get to 12-5 before you start worrying about, oh, he can't win the big one. Falcons haven't played in a big one in 10 years. Let's get there. Thank you, Trucker Mike. Hope you're doing well. If you're out on the road, I hope we're helping to pass some miles for you and you're getting lots of clear sailing and not wasting your time in traffic out there. Hope you're doing well. I'm good with Mike McCarthy. Again, another offensive guy. I think he was calling his own plays. He had Kellen Moore for a little bit. Matt Ryan on here. Fans despise Matt. Tommy Tuberville had a saying that says you'll lose 10% of your following after every year. And again, sometimes coaches, sometimes players, they can just run their course. And Matt Ryan had run his course in Atlanta. He is arguably the greatest Atlanta Falcon of all time. And history will be much kinder to Matt Ryan than a portion of Falcons fans were during the last quarter of his career. It'll be good. And 1, 2, 3, 4 P-bomb. John Gruden is genuinely the best option. Golly, we've talked about some circus candidates, have we? I don't want Gruden here. I don't want Gruden in Atlanta. I don't want Gruden in Atlanta. That's all I'm going to say with that one. He might be great. He might not be great. I think he's a great personality for the media. He's had a lot of success out there. He burns hot and he burns out. And that's not where I would want to go. Eric Bieniemy has not proven to be a good coach, period. He was the offensive coordinator in name only with Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid. Wasn't calling the plays. Wasn't even coaching quarterbacks. Got one chance in Washington. It lasted 1 year. So Bieniemy hasn't proven to be a good football coach. So I wouldn't want to go that one. And 1, 2, 3, 4, this is where I said I was wrong completely on his resume because I had him confused the red, white, and blue of New England versus the red, white, and blue of Buffalo in my head. But Joe Brady, I think, is going to be a very, very high level. I think he'll be a head coach next year. I really do. Let's see here. I think I've caught up with everybody on this. On the supers, want to scroll back through and see if we got several members in the show. I think I've talked to a bunch of y'all too. Matt was one of our very first members too. So I want to say hello. You see, he's got that Falcon. You'll see him on YouTube. He's got that Falcon there. That means he is a member. And if you want to be a member on the link, get shout outs. I do special members only videos. I'm always available during comments, that type of stuff. But Matt says, as a Florida Gators fan, I pray we get Lane Kiffin. I have the Florida Gators site on SI. Lane Kiffin would be good for the Kennedy family. But he'd be good one for the Falcons. He's matured enough to be a great NFL coach. Yeah, he's either way. Again, he's for me, he's like a redemption story. Guys can grow up, they can mature because he was such a punk. He'll tell you that. We're just about my age. He was such a punk when he first got started, so over in his head. Friend of mine coached for him. I said, my impression of him is he was born on third base and thought he hit a triple. He's like, you nailed it. That's it. So great question. And, Xavier came in and asked too. I really like Lane Kiffin. I really do. I think he was humbled and now he doesn't take himself too seriously. And he's got enough money in the bank to have fun doing it. He is this generation Steve Spurrier, and I loved Steve Spurrier. I did. I get so tired of we got to get better, and this team's really dangerous, and if we don't show up, they're going to beat us. And yeah, I know we're favored by 60 points, but we got to bring our best. And coaches lie so much, it's coach speak. I like a little honesty every now and then. We get another one. Yes, Major says, get Bruce Arians and Nick Saban out of retirement. Yeah, let's go with somebody that was born, I don't know, 1990 or later. What's that? What would that make them? No, 80 or later. So you lose a decade. Once you pass 40 years old, you lose a decade. So 1980 or later would make them 45 or younger. I don't want somebody who's I don't mind. I can get on board with a retread again. If you hire a coach with head coaching experience, he's been fired. I promise you that. Well, so-and-so fired him. Yeah, they all get fired. That's the nature of the job. But, and I know you're just joking on this. Yes, Major. Spurrier sucked in the NFL. Did he, though? Who succeeded with the Washington Redskins and Daniel Snyder? We don't really know what Spurrier was capable of in the NFL. We really don't. So you could, if Saban wasn't good in the NFL either. No, and he wasn't there very long, and he was undercut by a bad organization on a couple of decisions that went against him. But, again, Spurrier gave it a shot with Washington, and nobody was successful in Washington. Not even Gibbs was successful on his end. We were not going to say that Gibbs wasn't any good either. And Nick said Saleh was his number one candidate as far as coaching players. When we asked Nick, I said, off the top of your head, who are your top three candidates? He said Robert Saleh, number one. And not for the Falcons, just period. That one surprised me a little bit, but he might be right. Again, get that New York Jets off of him. And he's reminding everybody in San Francisco why he was an offensive coordinator, why he was a head coaching candidate to begin with. All right, y'all. I'm going to get out of here. And no, you don't have to worry about Rex Ryan. Rex Ryan's not going to be a head coach again. You don't have to worry about that. I'm going to get out of here. We've gone a little long, and I've had a great time with y'all today. We will be back on Wednesday, maybe sooner if there's any news. So again, for my breaking news stuff, I do. I'm always on Falcons on SI, and then with the writing, and then with videos, I do members only. But I want to say thank you to y'all. Thank you to Matt for being a member in the Super. Same for Mike, coming in a couple times for being a member in the Super. Rusty, thank you. He came in twice with Supers, at least twice. Lance, Jeremy, Rowe, Larry again, Matt again. Yes, Major, 1, 2, 3, 4. Thank you all for supporting the show. It helps us keep the lights on. Helps keep this billboard of a forehead nice and shiny with the bright lights so you can see me and hear me okay. It's been a rough 24 hours. If it was easy, we wouldn't be Falcons fans, right? Has it ever been easy? No. Being a Falcons fan, find a woman that's a Falcons fan, or a man if you're interested in men, if you are a woman. It's a green flag because even if they're out of the year league, they've set their standards low and they're super loyal. It's an abusive relationship, and that's where we are at this point. Y'all have a great rest of your day. I've had a lot of fun over here the last 24 hours talking with y'all. I'll see you on Wednesday. Enjoy the rest of your week. Thanks for being here, y'all.